Okay guys, so we're going to be looking at maps now, and although maps can be complicated and very detailed, for our purposes we're going to look at a more simplified version of it. There's three main concepts we're going to be looking at with these maps: contour lines, color, and legends. And there's going to be a few other aspects in between those points, but those are the three areas we're going to look at. So first we have contour lines. So if you look at all three of these maps I have up here, you'll notice that there's brown lines that seem to go in a specific pattern on the map. Contour lines show different levels of elevation, so different levels of height. So for example, right here, as you move one contour line to the next, you're actually going up in elevation. Okay, so a map will usually tell you how much elevation change happens in between each line. So say this one that I'm on right now was a 20-foot difference for every contour line. Well, that means that from here to here, the height difference goes up 20 feet. From here to here, it's another 20 feet. Okay? The one thing to remember when you're looking at contour lines is that the further the lines are apart, the less steep the incline. And the closer they are together, like this one is down here, the steeper the incline. Okay, so this right here might be a steep hill, whereas this might be just a flatter plane or a low rolling hill. If you're looking at a map and you see lines that are so close together that they actually look almost like one big line, that's an example of like a cliff or a ridge or a very steep ledge. So the next thing we're going to look at are the different colors on the map. So the first one, brown, as we can already see, are contour lines. Okay. Now, if you're in an area where there are snow-covered mountains, where it's whiter on top, there's no vegetation, those contour lines might be blue, but for the most part you will see brown lines. Then we have our green. Okay, so you can see green on all three of these maps. The green represents areas of vegetation or forested areas, so you can be sure that if you were traveling through those areas, you'd be in some form of vegetated area. The blue is pretty obvious, is your water. Okay, so any blue on the map is typically going to be an area of water, whether that be streams or lakes or marshes or oceans. Those are all going to be indicated by blue. Next we have black. Okay, so black things on the map are man-made objects. So this can include trails, like this dotted line right here, or roads, okay, or these little houses here on the map. Okay, so these are all, the black is all man-made objects. Lastly, we have red, and we're not going to see that many times in the maps we're going to be looking at, but just so you understand, red represents man-made features. So those are boundary lines. So for example, the boundary between Manitoba and Ontario would be represented by a red line on an orienteering map. Okay, so in this little corner right here, you can actually see what would be a boundary, and that's obviously a big red line right there. So the last thing that we have to look at on the maps are the legend. Okay, so the legend is going to give us details about specific parts of the map. Okay, so these little black squares right here, or these little symbols right here. How do we know what those are? Well, your legend will tell you everything that those are. Okay, so a legend is specific to a map. So right here, these are most likely buildings. These symbols right here usually tell you where a marshy area is. Okay? So, like I said, each legend can be different, but will be very detailed to tell you which parts which symbols on the map are which. Now, in combination, you can look at a map and kind of tell what the area is going to look like. So, for example, if we look at this map right here, well, we have two marshy areas. Right? We have this area is marshy and this area is marshy, and it's on a river. Well, what's the difference between these two areas? Well, we can see that one area actually has an area of blue, and the other area is completely green. So what can we guess from looking at that map? Well, there's still open water here in this one, whereas up here, because it's covered in vegetation, that has all been overcome by complete swamp. And say you're in a canoe, and you're on this river, you might be able to get through this area with a little bit of trouble, but this one would be much more difficult to get through because almost all the water is covered over by vegetation. Okay, so that's basic introduction into maps. We're going to be looking a lot more into that when we get to how to use the compass with the map, but now you have a basic idea.